What's up, you guys? My name's Nicole, and I'm a person in long-term recovery. I'll have 8 years sober July 13th, and I am on suboxone. I started my suboxone journey 30 days after I got out of treatment. I had been sober, and I was struggling. I needed something different. See, I had done AA and NA for over 10 years, in and out, and every time I would get out, I would stay sober for about 6 to 9 months. I would work the steps, do everything they told me to do, but I always ended up relapsing somehow. So this time, my son had gotten taken away from me, and it was either get sober and stay sober, or relapse and lose custody of your son for the rest of your life. So I knew I had to do something different, so I got on suboxone. My starting dose of suboxone was 8 milligrams, but for about the first couple of months, I noticed that I was taking an extra 4 milligrams and running out early. So I went to my doctor and I said, "Hey doc, I keep on taking an extra 4 milligrams towards the middle of the day." And he said, "Well, we might need to bump you up." So my doctor bumped me up to 12 milligrams, and that was my stable therapeutic dose for the next 4.5, 5 years. When I hit around 4.5 to 5 years sober, I decided that I wanted to taper. So I started tapering. Only I did my taper so slow, I was going damn backwards. And I finally got down to 1/4 milligram in 2020. Okay? By 2021 in January, I decided I wanted to try and get off suboxone. So I jumped off of 1/4 milligram of suboxone, and I did really well. I had minimal withdrawal. I felt fine, except for one thing. I had really bad depression. I had been in a debilitating depression for about 3.5 years, 4 years in the house that I used to live in. And at that time, I didn't know that it had a lot to do with the environment that I was in. Well, in November of this year, I moved out of that house, and that depression started to magically lift. But back in 2021, when I had jumped off, that depression was hitting like no other, and I could not handle it. So I got back on that 1/4 milligram, and that's where I've been ever since. Since moving to my new place in November of 2022, I have been able to taper off of my Lexapro, I've been able to taper off my Wellbutrin, and I'm still on my 1/4 milligram of Suboxone. And I feel great. And I'll probably be on that for the rest of my life. And I don't care what anyone says, it helps me so much. And I don't want to risk anything because I've worked so hard in these 8 years to get to where I've got. I worked my ass off.